The great hall of the Galactic Council was quiet. Too quiet. Ambassador Chun stood at the speaker's platform, his face showing no emotion. Around him, hundreds of alien representatives watched with curious eyes. Some looked bored. Others whispered to each other. None of them understood what was about to happen. Chun cleared his throat and began to speak. His voice was calm and steady. Honorable members of the Galactic Council, I come before you today to deliver an important message from the United Human Government. The Thoraxian delegate, a tall creature with purple scales, shifted in his seat. He looked annoyed already. Next to him, the small furry Valorians chittered nervously among themselves. For 200 years, Chun continued, humanity has served this council with loyalty and dedication. We have protected trade routes from pirates. We have shared our technology freely. We have rushed to help whenever disaster struck any world in council space. We have asked for very little in return. Some delegates nodded. Others looked uncomfortable. They knew what was coming now. Yesterday, this council passed Resolution 4477. This resolution demands that all species deemed too volatile must give up control of their own military forces. We must submit to council oversight. We must allow council observers on our ships and in our command centers. Chun paused. The Thoraxian delegation specifically named humanity as too emotional and too aggressive to be trusted with our own defense. The Thoraxian delegate stood up, his voice harsh. You are too dangerous. Your species fights too easily. You feel too much. Someone must control you before you destroy everything. Chun looked at him for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was not a happy smile. We disagree with your assessment. However, we respect your right to make rules for your own council. He pulled out a data pad and read from it. Therefore, effective immediately, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. We resign our seat. We will remove all human personnel from council space within 90 days. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors. The hall erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. The council speaker banged his gavel again and again, trying to restore order. You cannot be serious. The Valorian representative squeaked. This is just a negotiation tactic, yes? You will come back? Chun shook his head. No, we will not come back. Our decision is final. Humanity is leaving, but who will patrol the outer rim? Someone shouted, who will maintain the relay stations? Another voice called out, what about the trade routes through the Badlands? Chun held up his hand. The hall slowly grew quiet again. We have prepared detailed instruction manuals for all infrastructure we built or maintained. You will find everything you need to know. We are leaving these facilities in good working order. What you do with them after we leave is your concern, not ours. The Thoraxian delegate laughed. It was a cruel sound. This is childish. You will be back within a month, begging to rejoin. You need us more than we need you? Chun packed his datapad into his case. He looked around the hall one last time. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps we will regret this decision. But we will not come begging. If you want humanity back in the council, you will need to ask us, politely. He bowed slightly. Goodbye. He walked out of the hall. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Behind him, the delegates sat frozen in shock, outside the council building. Chun met with Captain Morrison, the head of human military operations in council space. How did they take it? Morrison asked. They think we are bluffing, Chun said. They think we will change our minds. Morrison grinned. Should we tell them we are serious? No, Chun said. We will show them. Within hours, human stations across council space began receiving orders. Shut down. Pack up, go home. Military bases that had protected alien worlds for decades started their evacuation procedures. Hospitals run by human doctors began transferring patients to local facilities. Schools closed. Factories stopped production. The humans worked quickly and efficiently. There was no anger, no drama. They simply followed their orders. Every piece of human equipment was either taken or left with complete documentation. Every building was left clean and in good condition. Every local worker received full severance pay and excellent references. On the agricultural world of Valoria Prime, a young Valorian named Pip watched as the human rescue station shut down. She had worked there for 5 years as a translator. The human commander, a woman named Sarah, gave her a tight hug. "I do not understand," Pip said, her whiskers trembling. "Why are you leaving? We need you here." Sarah looked sad. "I know, sweetie, but this is not our choice." "Well, it is our choice, but only because the council gave us no other option. We cannot stay where we are not trusted. But I trust you. Everyone here trusts you." "I know, and I will miss you all so much. But sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, even when it hurts." Sarah handed Pip a small device. "This is a personal communicator. It only works for private messages, not official ones. If you ever need to talk to a friend, call me." "Okay." Pip took the device with shaking paws. "Will we ever see humans again?" Sarah smiled. "Maybe, if the council learns some manners." She picked up her last bag. "Take care of yourself, Pip. Be brave." 3 weeks passed. Then 30. Then 60. The aliens kept waiting for humans to come back. They kept expecting to see human ships return, expecting human diplomats to send messages asking to negotiate, but no messages came. No ships returned? Human space, which had always been busy with traffic and communication, went silent. Every channel that once carried human voices now played only static or automated messages on the 89th day. The last human transport left Council space. Ambassador Chin was on that ship. As it jumped to faster-than-light speed, he looked back at the space they were leaving behind. "Think they have figured it out yet?" His assistant asked. Chun shook his head. "No, not yet. But they will. Very soon they will understand exactly what they have lost." The ship disappeared into the darkness, and Council space was alone for the first time in 200 years. In the great hall where Chun had resigned, the council speaker finally spoke the words everyone was thinking. "What have we done?" 3 months had passed since the last human left council space. At first, the alien species barely noticed. Sure, some trade routes were slower, and a few stations needed more maintenance, but nothing serious. Nothing to worry about. Then the Corinthian mining colonies in the Outer Rim started having problems. The Corinthians were an insect-like species who lived on asteroids and mined valuable crystals. They had been doing this for thousands of years. But their colonies orbited close to an unstable star, and sometimes that star threw out dangerous solar flares. For the last 50 years, human ships had monitored that star constantly. When a flare was coming, humans would warn the Corinthians hours in advance. The miners would retreat to their shielded bunkers and wait for the danger to pass. No one ever got hurt because the humans always warned them in time. On the 93rd day after humanity left, the star produced the biggest flare in a decade. The radiation wave rolled across space like an invisible tsunami. It would kill any Corinthian caught outside the bunkers, the mining director. An old Corinthian named Zix immediately sent a distress call on the emergency channel. The one the humans always monitored. The one that had saved his people so many times before. "Human Rescue Corps, this is Corinthian Colony 7. Solar flare incoming. We need evacuation support. Please respond." "Static." "Just static," Zix tried again. "This is an emergency. We have workers in exposed areas. We need help now." An automated message played. The voice was human, recorded months ago. "You have reached the Human Rescue Corps emergency channel. This service is no longer operational in Council space as of day 90, year 2247. For emergencies, please contact your local council representative. We wish you well." The message ended. Static returned. Zix stared at his communicator in disbelief. Then he started screaming orders to his own people. "Launch our ships. Get to the outer colonies. Move, move, move." But Corinthian ships were slow. They were built for hauling cargo, not for speed. The miners on the distant asteroids were too far away. The flare was moving too fast. 40-3 colonies went dark before Corinthian ships reached them. Over 2,000 workers died. Men, women, children, gone. When the news reached the Galactic Council, there was silence in the Great Hall. Then anger. Then more silence. "This is humanity's fault," the Thoraxian delegate shouted. "They abandoned those workers. They murdered them." A Corinthian representative stood up slowly. Her voice was tired and sad. "No, we murdered them. We drove away the humans. We told them they were not wanted. They offered to help us set up our own monitoring systems before they left. We said we did not need them. We were too proud. Too stupid." She sat down heavily. "This is our fault, not theirs." But the disasters were just beginning. Within weeks, trade across Council space began to collapse. Humans had not just transported human goods. Their shipping companies had become the backbone of all interspecies trade. They flew routes that other species considered too dangerous or not profitable enough. They delivered on time, every time, no matter what. Now those ships were gone. Food shipments that should have taken 2 weeks took 3 months. Medical supplies went missing. Manufactured goods piled up in warehouses because no one could transport them. Small companies went bankrupt. Large companies struggled. On Valoria Prime, Pip watched as food supplies dwindled. The Valorians depended on imported grains because their world could not grow enough food for everyone. Human ships had delivered those grains on a strict schedule for decades. Now the ships were late, then later. Then they did not come at all. Pip tried to stay positive. She organized rationing programs. She helped distribute the remaining food fairly. But every day there was less. Every day more children went hungry. She thought about calling Sarah on the personal communicator, but what would she say? "Please come back and save us?" After everything the council had done? She kept the communicator in her pocket and said nothing. In the council's science division, researchers made another terrible discovery. For years, humans had been sharing research freely. Medical treatments that could cure diseases, agricultural techniques that improved crop yields, fusion reactor designs that produced cheap energy. Humans had given all of this away, asking nothing in return. Now that flow of knowledge had stopped, the Galactic Council had always had its own scientists, of course, but they were discovering that they had fallen behind, far behind. Human technology was not just a little better. It was decades ahead in some fields, and without human help, the Council scientists did not know how to catch up. The Thoraxian delegate tried to maintain confidence. He gave speeches. He told everyone this was temporary. "The humans need us," he insisted. "They cannot survive alone. They will come back. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. They always come back." But as weeks became months, fewer people believed him, especially after his own homeworld suffered a cyber attack that crippled their power grid for 2 weeks. The attack came from pirates who had avoided human patrols. The Thoraxian delegate stopped making public speeches after that. The council sent envoys to human space. 5 different delegations. Each one carried messages requesting dialogue, requesting assistance. One even carried an apology, though it was vaguely worded and blamed misunderstandings. Rather than admitting fault, the human responses were always the same. Polite but firm. Professional but cold. Humanity thanks the Galactic Council for their message. However, we are no longer involved in council affairs. We have withdrawn from your organization and have no plans to return. We wish you success in solving your challenges. If you're interested in establishing bilateral relations between your individual species and humanity, we are open to discussions. But we will not rejoin the council. The envoys returned with nothing. No promises. No hope. No humans. In the darkness of space, in the regions humans once patrolled, pirates grew bolder. Slavers returned to routes they had not dared to travel in a century. And in the shadows beyond council space, the Scolari hive watched and waited. The Scolari were warriors. Their entire culture was built around conquest. For hundreds of years, they had wanted to invade Council space, but they had held back because of one species. Humans fought with a ferocity that terrified even the Scolari. Humans defended their allies with absolute determination. Humans never surrendered, never retreated, never forgave attacks on the innocent. Now the humans were gone. The Scolari Queen gathered her commanders. How long has it been since the humans left? 3 months and 17 days, Your Majesty. The Queen's mandibles clicked in pleasure. Then it is time. Prepare the fleet. We feast soon. Back in Council space, life continued. People tried to adapt to the new normal. Some species began learning to defend themselves. Others hired mercenaries. Trade routes were reorganized, though they remained slower and more expensive than before. And through it all, human space remained silent. Not dead, not empty, just silent. Human ships moved through human territory, but they never crossed into Council space. Human communications could be detected, but they were all encrypted now. The galaxy that had been one large community was splitting into 2 separate worlds. Pip finally used her communicator one night. She called Sarah. The human woman answered immediately. Pip, I am so happy to hear from you. How are you? Pip tried to speak but started crying instead. Sarah waited patiently until Pip could talk again. We are hungry, Sarah. The food ships are not coming. Children are crying. I do not know what to do. Sarah was quiet for a moment. I am so sorry, Pip. I wish I could help. I really do. Cannot you come back? Cannot humans come back? It is not that simple anymore. The Council made their choice. Now we all have to live with it. But people are dying. I know. Sarah's voice was full of pain. And that breaks my heart. But Pip, if we come running back every time there is a problem, the Council will never learn. They will keep treating us like servants. They will keep thinking they can take us for granted. Sometimes the only way to teach someone is to let them face the consequences of their actions. Pip wiped her eyes. That is a very human way of thinking. Yes, Sarah agreed. It is. Take care of yourself, Pip. Be strong. You are stronger than you know. The call ended. Pip sat in the darkness, holding the communicator. She understood what Sarah was saying, but understanding did not fill empty stomachs. Understanding did not bring back the dead in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council. The speaker looked at the reports piling up on his desk. Disasters, shortages, deaths, all of it getting worse. What have we done? He whispered again. But this time he knew the answer. They had driven away the only species that truly cared about helping others. And now they would pay the price. The Scolari Hive fleet emerged from faster than light, travel at the edge of the Valoria system. 50 warships, each bristling with weapons. The Hive Queen had chosen her first target carefully. Valoria Prime was soft, peaceful, and completely defenseless. Commander Thrax stood on the bridge of the flagship, his 4 eyes gleaming with anticipation. The Scolari looked like a nightmare combination of insects and crustaceans, all sharp edges and armored plates. Scan the system, he ordered. Are there any human ships? The sensor operator checked his screens. No human vessels detected. No human stations. No human signatures of any kind. Thrax clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. Just as the scouts reported, the humans are truly gone. He turned to his fleet. Begin the attack. Take what you want. Kill anyone who resists. This is just the beginning. The Scolari ships descended on Valoria Prime like locusts. Pip was at the food distribution center when the alarms began. She looked up at the sky and saw the ships. So many ships. They were black and angular, nothing like the smooth curves of council vessels or the practical boxes of human craft. These ships looked like they were designed to inspire fear. Everyone inside, she shouted. Get the children to the shelters. But the Valorians had no real shelters. They had never needed them before. When danger came, humans had always arrived to protect them. Where were the humans now? The Scolari landed troops in the city center. They moved through the streets, taking anything of value and killing anyone who tried to stop them. The Valorians tried to fight back with farming tools and small arms, but they had no military training. No strategy. No hope. Pip helped evacuate children through the back alleys, staying ahead of the invaders by minutes. She could hear screams behind her. She could see smoke rising from burning buildings. This could not be happening. This was not real, but it was real. And it was happening by the time Council forces received the distress call and began organizing a response. The attack was already hours old. The problem was coordination. 6 different species tried to send help, but they all used different communication protocols, different command structures, different tactical doctrines. For 200 years, human liaison officers had bridged these gaps. They translated. They coordinated. They made sure everyone worked together smoothly. Now those officers were gone, and chaos ruled. The Thraxian fleet arrived first, but waited for backup before engaging. The Ventari ships arrived next, but could not communicate with the Thraxians. By the time both fleets figured out how to coordinate, the Scolari had already finished looting Valoria Prime and jumped away. 3,000 Valorians were dead. Thousands more were injured. The capital city was in ruins, and the Scolari had taken everything of value they could carry. When Pip finally emerged from hiding, she walked through streets she no longer recognized. Bodies lay where they had fallen. Buildings burned. Children cried for parents who would never answer. She pulled out her communicator with shaking paws. "Sarah? Are you there?" "Pip, thank God. I heard about the attack. Are you okay?" No, I'm not okay." "Nothing is okay. They came, Sarah. The Scolari came, and no one stopped them." "Where were you?" "Where were the humans?" Sarah's voice was pained. "Pip, I am so sorry. But we are not part of the Council anymore. We do not patrol your space. We do not have the authority to enter your territory. People died. My friends died. You could have saved them. And if we had come, the Council would have accused us of invading, of violating their sovereignty. They kicked us out, Pip. They said they did not need us. They said we were too dangerous to trust." Pip sank to the ground, surrounded by destruction. "This is the consequence? This is what you meant? People dying is the lesson we had to learn? It is the consequence of the Council's choice," Sarah said quietly. "Not ours. We did not want this. But we cannot protect people who do not want our protection. We cannot help people who view us as the enemy. I never viewed you as the enemy. I know, and that breaks my heart. But you are not the Council. You did not make their decisions. Yet you suffer their consequences. That is the tragedy of bad leadership. The innocent always pay the price." Pip ended the call. She sat in the ruins of her city and cried, but Valoria Prime was just the beginning. The Scolari struck 3 more worlds in the next month. Each time, the Council response was too slow, too disorganized, too ineffective. Each time, thousands died before help arrived. Pirate attacks increased across all of Council space. Word spread quickly through the underworld that the humans were gone and the Council could not protect anyone. Ships that had traveled safely for decades were now attacked regularly. Convoys needed armed escorts, but there were not enough escorts to go around. The Council held emergency sessions almost daily now. The chamber that had once echoed with confident speeches now filled with accusations and desperation. "We must ask the humans for help," a Valorian representative pleaded. "We must beg if necessary. Pride means nothing to the dead." The Thraxian delegate, looking older and more tired than before, shook his head. "We have asked. Multiple times. They refuse. Then we offer them more. Money, resources, territory, whatever they want. They do not want our resources. They want respect. They want us to admit we were wrong? Then let us admit it. Let us apologize properly." The Council speaker stood up slowly. "It is not that simple. Even if we apologize, even if we beg, why would they trust us? We betrayed them once. We accused them of being too dangerous, too volatile, too emotional. Then the moment they leave, we immediately need them to save us. Do you not see how that looks? We prove their point. We prove that we used them. We never valued them. We only valued what they could do for us. The hall fell silent. Because everyone knew he was right, the council sent another delegation to human space. This time, they came with full authority to negotiate whatever terms necessary. The lead envoy was a Valorian named Kesh, chosen specifically because humans liked Valorians. The humans received them politely at a border station. The human admiral in charge, a woman named Rodriguez, listened to their plea without interruption. "We were wrong," Kesh said simply. "The council was wrong. We see that now. We need your help. People are dying. We will give you anything you ask. Just please, come back." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "I appreciate your honesty, Envoy Kesh, and I am truly sorry for the suffering your people are experiencing. But my government's position has not changed. We will not rejoin the council. But the Scolari are killing us. The pirates are everywhere. We cannot defend ourselves." "Then you must learn," Rodriguez said, not unkindly. "You must build your own defenses, train your own soldiers, develop your own strategies. We cannot do it for you forever. We do not have time. More people die every day." Rodriguez leaned forward. "Envoy Kesh, let me ask you something. If we came back right now, if we saved you from the Scolari and chased away all the pirates, what would happen?" "The council would be grateful for a while. Maybe a year, maybe 2. But eventually you would start taking us for granted again. Eventually someone would propose another resolution limiting our freedom, and we would be right back where we started. That would not happen. We have learned our lesson. Have you? Have you? Has the council actually changed? Have you reformed your decision-making process? Have you addressed the issues that led to our departure? Or are you just afraid right now and want someone to save you?" Kesh had no answer, because Rodriguez was right. The council had not changed anything. They just wanted the humans back. "We will offer you something," Rodriguez continued. "We will sell you defensive technology. We will train your officers if you send them to our academies. We will provide intelligence about Scolari movements. But we will not fight your wars for you. Not anymore. That is not enough. It is all we will offer. Take it or leave it." Kesh took it, because it was better than nothing. But as he traveled back to council space, he knew it would not be enough to stop what was coming. The Scolari Queen received reports of the council's weakness with great pleasure. "They truly cannot defend themselves," she told her commanders. "The humans were their only strength. Now we will take everything." She ordered the fleet to gather. Not 50 ships this time? 500. A full invasion force. This would not be a raid. This would be conquest. In human space, Admiral Rodriguez watched the Scolari fleet movements on her screens. She knew what was coming. She knew thousands more would die. And it hurt. Every death hurt. But she also knew that if humans kept saving the Council from every threat, the Council would never change. They would never grow stronger. They would remain children forever, dependent on humanity for protection. Sometimes the hardest part of being a good friend was letting someone face the consequences of their own choices, even when it hurt, even when people died, because the alternative was enabling behavior that would eventually destroy them anyway. "Do we really just watch?" her second-in-command asked. Rodriguez closed her eyes. "For now, yes. We watch and we wait. And we hope they learn fast enough to survive." The Scolari fleet jumped toward Council space, and the galaxy held its breath, 1 year after humanity's departure. The Galactic Council was falling apart. The Council speaker sat alone in his office, reading reports that all said the same thing: economic collapse, military defeats, social unrest. Species that had cooperated for centuries now argued over resources. Border disputes that had been settled peacefully now threatened to become wars. The structure that had maintained peace for 1,000 years was crumbling. A soft knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he said, tired like it was his chief of staff. A young Ventari named Sala. She placed another stack of data pads on his desk. The latest casualty reports from the Scolari incursions, sir. And the economic analysis you requested. The speaker did not touch the pads. Tell me the summary. I do not have the energy to read it all. Sala hesitated. The Scolari have taken 11 worlds now. Estimated deaths are over 400,000. Economic losses are measured in trillions of credits. Trade volume is down 63% from last year. 15 member species are experiencing food shortages. 7 are on the verge of internal collapse. The speaker closed his eyes. And the Thraxian delegate? Still in seclusion, sir. He refuses all communications. Of course he did. The Thraxian delegate's homeworld had suffered terribly. The Scolari had targeted it specifically, almost like they knew he was the one who had pushed hardest to remove humanity from the Council. 2 million dead. The delegate's own family among them. There is something else, sir, Sala said carefully. The investigation committee finished their report on humanity's contributions to the Council. Already? That was fast. They said the investigation was easy because the evidence was overwhelming. Do you want me to summarize? The speaker nodded, though he dreaded what he was about to hear. Sala opened her datapad. Humans were mediating an average of 47 interspecies disputes per week. Small things mostly. Trade disagreements, cultural misunderstandings, resource allocation arguments. They kept these from escalating to the council level. 47 per week. The speaker felt sick. Yes, sir. Their cultural liaison office was handling thousands of cases per year that we never even knew about. Since they left, 70% of those cases have escalated into serious conflicts. She continued reading. Human infrastructure investments were subsidizing the economies of 18 member species. We thought these species were self-sufficient. They were not. Humans were quietly providing financial support to keep their system stable. Why did we not know this? Because humans never talked about it. They just did it. They considered it part of being good council members. Sala's voice grew quieter. Human merchant ships were operating 12% of all trade routes at a loss. They absorbed the costs to keep essential goods moving to poor worlds. The speaker put his head in his hands. The military analysis is worse, sir. Humans were not just protecting trade routes. They were maintaining a network of early warning stations that tracked hostile movements across 3 sectors. They were running training programs that taught basic defense to species who had no military tradition. They were sharing intelligence that prevented approximately 200 pirate attacks per year. Stop, the speaker said. I do not need to hear more. I understand, but Sala was not finished. Sir, the cultural impact analysis says that human presence was the primary factor preventing the Council from fragmenting into rival alliances. Other species trusted humans to be neutral arbiters because humans treated everyone fairly. Without them, old rivalries are returning. The speaker looked up at her. So you are saying that humans were not just members of the Council. They were the glue holding the entire Council together. Yes, sir. That is exactly what the report concludes. And we threw them away because we thought they were too dangerous. Sala said nothing. What could she say? A message alert chimed. Sala checked it and her face went pale. Sir, the Scolari fleet has been detected. It is much larger than before. They are heading for the Thraxian home system. How large? 500 ships, sir. It is a full invasion force. The speaker stood up quickly. Mobilize everything we have. Call an emergency session. We have to stop them. But stopping the Scolari proved impossible. The Council fleet was outnumbered and outmatched. The species of the Council had lived in peace for so long that their military forces have atrophied. And without human coordination, they could not work together effectively. The Thraxians fought bravely to defend their homeworld. They held out for 3 days before their defenses collapsed. The Scolari took the planet and immediately began strip mining it for resources. The remaining Thraxian population was enslaved. News of the defeat spread panic through Council space. If the Thoraxians, one of the strongest military powers, could not stop the Scolari, who could? Desperate, some species began reaching out to humanity individually. Not through the Council, but through private channels. They offered apologies, reparations, trade agreements, anything to open dialogue. The human responses varied. Some species received cold rejections. Others received careful consideration. The humans were clearly evaluating each request on its own merits. The Valorians, who had suffered so much, sent Pip as their envoy. She met with Sarah in a neutral space station. "We were friends once," Pip said. "Can we be friends again?" Sarah smiled sadly. "We are still friends, Pip. We always were. That never changed. Then help us, please. My people are dying. I cannot make that decision, but I can take your request to my superiors." Sarah paused. "Pip, I need to ask you something. If Valoria Prime establishes relations with humanity again, if we help you defend yourselves, are you willing to stand apart from the Council if necessary?" "What do you mean?" "I mean that if the Council orders you to cut ties with humanity again, will you refuse? Will you choose your friendship with us over your membership in the Council?" Pip understood. Sarah was asking if Valoria was truly sorry or just scared. She was asking if their friendship meant more than political convenience. "Yes," Pip said firmly. "We choose friendship. We choose humanity. If the Council cannot accept that, then perhaps we do not belong in the Council anymore." Sarah's smile became genuine. "Then I will recommend that we help you. We cannot fight your battles for you, but we can teach you to fight them yourselves. We can provide weapons, training, and advisors. Is that acceptable?" "It is more than acceptable. It is generous." Pip hesitated. "Sarah, can I ask you something? Why did you really leave? Was it just about the military autonomy issue?" Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "No, that was the breaking point, but not the root cause. The truth is, we realized the Council did not see us as equals. They saw us as full tools, servants. We gave and gave and gave, and they took it all for granted. They never appreciated us. They certainly never respected us. I respected you. I know you did, Pip. Many individuals did. But the Council as an institution did not. And we finally understood that we could not change that from within. We could only change it by leaving." Sarah reached across the table and took Pip's paw. "Sometimes you have to walk away from a toxic relationship. Even when it hurts. Even when you still care about the people involved. But people died because you left. People died because the Council failed to protect them. That is not our fault. We begged them to let us help prepare defenses before we left. They refused. We offered to maintain emergency services during a transition period. They said they did not need us. We told them the Scolari would attack. They called us fearmongers." Sarah's voice hardened. "We did everything we could to make our departure safe. They ignored every warning. Those deaths are not on our hands." Pip knew Sarah was right, but it still hurt. Over the following months, several species followed Valoria's example. They reached out to humanity individually, offering genuine apologies and requesting bilateral relations. The humans accepted some requests and rejected others. They were clearly looking for evidence of real change, not just fear-driven desperation. Meanwhile, the Council continued to fracture. The Thoraxian delegate finally emerged from seclusion and made a public statement. He looked like a broken man. "I was wrong," he said simply. "I thought humans were dangerous. I thought they were too emotional, too aggressive. But I was the dangerous one. My pride, my fear, my arrogance, these things led to the deaths of millions. I tried to control humanity because I could not control myself." He resigned from the Council immediately after his speech. Many other delegates followed. The Council's leadership, which had ruled for centuries, was collapsing. In human space, things looked very different. Free from Council bureaucracy, humanity was thriving. Their economy was growing rapidly. Their technology was advancing. They had formed alliances with independent species who had also felt restricted by Council rules. Admiral Rodriguez watched reports from Council space with mixed feelings. "We were right to leave. she told her staff. But I wish the cost had not been so high. Do you think they have learned their lesson yet? Her second asked. Some of them have, but institutions learn slowly. They will need to suffer more before they truly change. How much more? Rodriguez looked at the casualty reports. I hope not much more. I really do. But the Scolari Queen was not finished. She had tasted victory and wanted more. Her fleet was growing larger, taking ships and slaves from conquered worlds. Soon she would be strong enough to attack the Council's core systems. The galaxy stood at a crossroads. The Council could continue as it was and face extinction, or it could change everything and maybe, just maybe, survive. The question was whether they would change fast enough, and whether humanity would be willing to help them when they finally did. 5 years after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council gathered for what might be its final session. The Great Hall looked different now. Many seats were empty. Species that had once been powerful members were now conquered slaves of the Scolari. Other species had withdrawn to form independent alliances. The council that once represented 300 worlds now spoke for barely 100. The Scolari fleet was coming. Intelligence reports confirmed 5,000 warships massing at the edge of council space. Not for a raid this time, for complete conquest. The Queen wanted everything. The new council speaker, a pragmatic Valorian named Kira, stood before the assembly. We have one choice, she said bluntly. We offer humanity everything they want and we hope they save us, or we fight alone and die. We already tried negotiating with humanity, someone shouted. They refused. That was 5 years ago, Kira replied. We have changed since then. We have learned. Perhaps it is time to try again. What makes you think they will help us now? Kira's expression was sad. Nothing. I have no reason to think they will help. But I know for certain they will not help if we do not ask. So we must ask. The vote was unanimous. Every species agreed to send a delegation to human space with full authority to offer complete restructuring of the Council, full military autonomy for all species, permanent seats for humanity on every major committee, formal apologies, reparations, anything and everything. The delegation was led by Pip. She had become a respected diplomat in the years since the human departure. Everyone knew she had maintained her friendship with Sarah despite council disapproval. If anyone could convince the humans, it would be her. The human government agreed to receive the delegation on Earth. It was the first time most of these aliens had visited the human homeworld. They found it beautiful and terrifying. Earth was a world that had survived dozens of near-extinction events, from ice ages to nuclear wars. The humans had learned to be strong because they had no choice. Pip and the delegation were received in a simple meeting room. No grand hall, no fancy decorations. Just a table and chairs. Admiral Rodriguez, now retired but brought back as a special advisor, sat across from them. Next to her was Ambassador Chun, who had resigned from the council 5 years ago. Welcome to Earth, Chun said. We understand you have a proposal for us. Pip did not waste time with pleasantries. She laid out everything. The council would completely restructure. Every species would have full military autonomy. No more majority votes on issues of species sovereignty. Protections for smaller species' rights would be enshrined in the new charter. Humanity would be given special status as permanent mediators. And in return, Pip said quietly, we ask that you save us from the Scolari. Chun and Rodriguez exchanged glances. Then Chun spoke carefully. Your proposal addresses many of the issues that led to our departure. The new structure sounds much better. But Envoy Pip, I have to ask you something important. Are you offering us these changes because you believe they are right? Or because you are afraid? Pip had prepared for this question. 5 years ago, I would have offered you anything out of fear. I would have promised anything to make you save us. But that is not why I am here today. She looked Sheen directly in the eyes. We have spent 5 years learning to defend ourselves. We have built new fleets. We have trained soldiers. We have formed alliances. We are not the same helpless species you left behind. Then why do you need our help? Rodriguez asked. Because we cannot win alone. We will fight, we will die trying, but we will lose. However, we are not asking you to fight for us. We are asking you to fight with us. As equals, as partners. Pip's voice was steady. The changes we propose are not payment for your protection. They are recognition of mistakes we made. Changes we should have made long ago, whether you help us or not. Chun leaned back in his chair. If we agree to help, what exactly are you asking for? Strategic coordination, intelligence sharing, advanced weapons technology, training for our officers, and yes, ships in battle if you are willing. But we will be there too, fighting beside you. This is our fight first. We only ask that you help us make it a fair fight. Rodriguez smiled slightly. That is a very different request than what we heard 5 years ago. We are very different than we were 5 years ago, Pip said. You taught us that. By leaving, you forced us to grow up. It was painful. So many people died. But you were right. We needed to learn to stand on our own. Chun looked at the other delegates. And does everyone here agree with these changes? Even if we refuse to help, will you still reform the council? Every delegate nodded. Chun turned to Rodriguez. They had a silent conversation with just eye contact. Then Chun turned back to the delegates. We will take your proposal to our government, but I can tell you our likely answer. We will not rejoin the council, even a reformed one. That bridge is burned. However, we are willing to establish strong bilateral relations with the new council as an independent ally. We will take that, Pip said immediately. And regarding the Scolari, Rodriguez added, we will provide what you asked for. Strategic coordination, intelligence, technology, training. But understand this, we will not win this war for you. We will help you win it for yourselves. Our fleet will fight alongside yours, not instead of yours. That is all we ask. The human government approved the agreement within a week. 3 weeks later, the reformed Galactic Council officially established diplomatic relations with humanity as equals, not members. The distinction was important to both sides. Then came the hard part. The Scolari fleet was already moving. The combined council and human forces met them at the Corinthian system. The same system where 43 mining colonies had died 5 years earlier because no one was there to warn them. Now it would be the site of the largest space battle in galactic history. Commander Zix, who had lost so many workers in that first disaster, now commanded the Corinthian defense fleet. His ships were new, built with human assistance but crewed and commanded by Corinthians. He watched the Scolari fleet approach and felt no fear, only determination. All ships, this is Zix, remember why we fight. Remember those we lost. Remember that we are no longer helpless. Today we prove that we have learned. Today we show the Scolari that this galaxy belongs to all of us, not just the strong. The battle lasted 6 hours. It was brutal. The Scolari fought with savage efficiency, but they found an enemy they did not expect. The council species fought with a skill and coordination they had never shown before. Human advisors helped, but they did not lead. Council officers made the tactical decisions. Pip watched from a Valorian command ship. She was not a warrior, but she insisted on being present. Sarah was on a human destroyer nearby, and they maintained communication throughout the battle. Your people are fighting well, Sarah said during a brief lull. We learned from the best, Pip replied. Then, Sarah, thank you for leaving us. I know that sounds strange, but it is true. If you had stayed, we would still be children depending on you. We would never have learned to be strong. You were always strong, Pip. You just did not know it yet. The tide of battle turned when the Scolari flagship was destroyed. The Queen had come personally, confident in her victory. But a combined strike from human and council forces punched through her shields and split the ship in half. With their queen dead, the Scolari fleet lost coordination. They fought on, but without their central command, they were vulnerable. By the end of the day, the Scolari fleet was broken. 3,000 enemy ships destroyed or captured. The rest fled into deep space. It would take them decades to rebuild. If they ever did, the Council had won. At terrible cost, more than 700 ships lost and thousands of crew dead, but they had won. And they had won largely through their own efforts. The victory celebration was held on Valoria Prime, now rebuilt and stronger than before. Representatives from dozens of species gathered along with human delegates. Admiral Rodriguez gave a short speech. 5 years ago, we left the Council because we were not respected. Today, we return as allies because we are. The galaxy has changed. You have changed. And that change was bought with blood and sacrifice. Remember this day not as the day humanity saved you, but as the day you saved yourselves. The applause was genuine and heartfelt. Later, Pip and Sarah walked through the memorial park built for those who died in the Scolari attacks. Thousands of names carved in stone. Pip stopped at one marker. Her brother's name. Do you think he would understand? Pip asked quietly. Why so many had to die before we learned? Sarah put her arm around Pip's shoulders. I think he would be proud of what you became. What all of you became. Sometimes the hardest lessons are the most important ones. I wish we had learned it without so much death. So do I, but we cannot change the past. We can only learn from it. They stood together in silence for a moment. Then Pip said, The humans have a saying, yes? About teaching someone to fish? Sarah smiled. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. That is what you did. You stopped giving us fish? You made us learn to fish for ourselves. Pip looked up at the sky. It was cruel, but it was also the kindest thing you could have done. In the years that followed, the new Council and humanity built a strong partnership. They were not the same entity, but they worked together as equals. The Council continued to grow stronger, learning from their mistakes. Other species, seeing the change, began to join or rejoin. The Scolari eventually returned, of course. But they found a very different galaxy waiting for them. The Council was no longer prey. They were warriors who had learned to defend themselves, and beside them, not above them, humanity stood as allies and friends. The question had never been whether the Council needed humanity. It had been whether the Council could survive without learning to stand on their own. The answer turned out to be no. They could not? But through pain and loss and sacrifice they learned, and in learning to stand alone, they finally became worthy of standing together, years later. Historians would debate whether humanity's departure was cruel or kind, whether those who died could have been saved if humans had stayed, whether the lesson was worth the cost, but those who lived through it, those who learned and grew and survived, they knew the truth. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to stop helping them, because true strength cannot be given. It can only be earned, and the Council, through blood and tears, had finally earned theirs.